that I didn't get a chance to ask this morning. With respect to juror number, excuse me, juror number 11. Hi. You indicated that if there's a video that shows what happened, that would probably impact your ability to be a fair juror. Am I correct? You did? 11. You're 11, right? Okay. Sorry. All right. Juror number 14. You did, though.
Yeah.
Right? So let me put another spin on this for you. Would it matter to you if the video was taken by the defendants themselves and published? Would you, at that point, would you want to know the why?
Yeah, I would like to know the context of why.
Oh, you would?
Yeah.
Okay. Juror number 13, does that change anything for you? If it's
No.
still on video, the fact that the defendants themselves took the video and posted it and made it public?
No,
Okay.
because I feel like, I think we all know what activists, why they do what they do, to save the animal, to protect the animal, to remove it from a harmful situation. So they publish what they do to I don't know if advertise is the right word, but to show the world what they're doing.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's right, in my opinion.
Mhm. Okay. We had juror number 10. I think you were one who said that if there was a video that would, you would kind of, I think, tune out. You would kind of be tuned out.
What you said pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly the same.
Well, do you still agree? Do you agree with the last comment too?
Yeah.
Okay. So the fact that they themselves took and published a video, still it's on video.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that additional fact change anyone's mind who said previously that the video would be pretty much the end of it as far as they were concerned? Juror number 14.
I would like to add that if it does show the act of them, of what they're accused of, then it's pretty cut and dry.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So similar to what you said this morning, as long as you're confident that the video is not redacted or and it shows the actual incident, that would be pretty cut and dry. Fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. The why question at that point would be unimportant. Got it. Okay. So I think that's someone desperately trying to get in and hear my voir dire, Your Honor. So, all right, so let me.
Or it could be somebody saying it's time to wrap up.
Okay. Touche. So, let me, you also, that we had some conversation about being resentful or being upset or feeling like this is a waste of time, and I think some jurors have identified themselves saying that. I guess my follow-up question would be, would that lead you to blame one party more than the other? Or would you blame the defense for creating this situation to begin with? Or would you blame the people? Can you speak to that, juror number 13?
I think I blame both. I feel like it's an incredible waste of resources on both sides. I mean, do we pursue every misdemeanor petty theft? Or, do we? And if not, why this one? And then also on the side of the defendant, when you conduct yourselves in that way to prove a point or to, demonstrate your passion for animal rights, then you should be prepared to pay the consequences and to go to such lengths when you have video evidence of the act in question seems just a waste of resources on both sides.
Thank you. Again, voir dire, speaking your truth, we appreciate that. Is there anyone else, and you can just say by a show of hands, that you agree with juror 13, juror number 2, and juror number 10, Juror number 12. Would that inhibit your ability to be a fair juror in this case? Would you kind of give this case what back in my time they used to call short shrift, or just not hear everybody out? What do you think, juror number 10?
No, I think I would hear everyone out. That's what I think overall. So then I'll hear both sides, and more evidence comes up. I'll listen to that as well and make my decision after. But it's still a big thing that this is kind of a waste of time.
Okay. Do you still stand by your comment, though, about the video, that would more or less be the end of it for you? How about you, juror number 2? You still stand by that position? Yes?
Yes.
Juror number 12?
Yes, but I would also say I'm a bit curious as well.
Okay. Juror number 17, you're being quiet. So I'm
I
back.
just want the guy to get his paper towels and stop making all that noise. Whatever it is he's doing.
Yeah, counsel, let me just explain for the jury. I apologize for that. We do have, on the side there, we have some holding cells for defendants who are there, and I know it's very distracting. I'm just gonna ask you to do your best to ignore that. Yeah, so.
All right. So it seems like when I get close to my computer, there's feedback. So I'll stay over here. This is also a case in which defenses will be presented, and you'll learn, and I'm not going to get into specifics right now because this is not a law school class, but sometimes even if all of the elements of the offense are proven beyond a reasonable doubt, there still is the question of defenses. So there can be situations, theoretically at least, where you could find that each of the elements of the charged offense have been satisfied, but you can nonetheless find that a defense to the offense has also been satisfied or demonstrated. Is there anybody here who is of the position of, well, if the elements of the offense have been proved, I don't want to hear about any defenses. That's the end of it. How about you, juror 14?
I would agree with that.
Okay. Juror number 16, I saw you nodding just slightly. Are you?
No, I feel like everyone has two sides to the story, so
Okay.
fair to open and listen to both sides.
Thank you. And I'm sorry if I misread your nod. Maybe you were. Juror number 15, what do you think? Can you listen to defense evidence, and even if all of the boxes have been checked regarding whether the offense was committed, that you'll still consider whether there's a defense to the crime?
Can't come to a conclusion of an unreasonable doubt without hearing both sides.
Great. How about you, juror number 9? You have a very intense stare, so I feel like I've got to engage you. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I guess the question is the question is was it legal or illegal, and do we get to pick justifiably whether it was? I don't know. I guess
Yeah,
I don't
maybe
know.
I should reframe the question. Maybe that'll be helpful. Oftentimes, even if an offense has been committed, the law provides that there may be a defense, a legal defense, that can be established that would require you to vote not guilty. Would you be willing to consider defense evidence even if you find that all of the elements of the offense have been satisfied?
So I'm open to looking at everything.
Okay.
I guess I just didn't realize that we decide on a lie, or I don't know.
Sure.
I guess I didn't really know that.
So this would be kind of a learning experience then, a little bit. Great. How about you, juror number 8?
Same thing.
Same thing?
Yeah.
Juror number 1?
Wanted to hear both sides and see
Yeah.
all the circumstances. But
Right. Thank you. How about you, juror number 1?
Hey, we already know, I guess we know the what, the how, and the when. We're just waiting for the why. I'm kind of curious as to why both people are here, the people and the defense. I'm
Okay.
curious,
You're curious, huh?
very curious.
This is only chapter 1.
All right.
That's right. How about you? I see you nodding, juror number 4.
I agree with juror number 1.
All right. Juror number 6, you had some strong opinions this morning, but you also seem to me to be a very thoughtful person, and most thoughtful people are also very fair-minded. Could you give both sides a fair trial?
I think so.
Yeah? You're smiling. You're laughing.
Like I said, I have strong feelings about corporations and the fact that we're here about 2 people when maybe we should be looking at a corporation instead, their practices against the animals and their employees.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else want to weigh in on anything that related to that subject before I move on to my final subject? And I see some relief. My final subject, good. All right. So I'm going to pose a hypothetical to you. Imagine this is the starting line of a race, right? And imagine that I'm on one lane and that maybe Mr. Atwell's in the other lane. And we're competing, right? Not sure how many of you in this room I could outrun. Probably less than half, I'm sure. But in any event, are we starting it? Do you have some sort of predisposition about this case where one of us has a head start? And I'm just asking honestly. Just, are we starting from the same point? Are you already leaning one way or the other? What about you, Juror 21?
I would say you're starting at the same point.
Okay, all right. Is there anyone who just honestly, maybe Juror number 13 or maybe someone else in your heart of hearts, it's like, I'm already leaning towards the DA, or I'm already leaning towards the defense. Juror number 17, Juror number 10? No?
No, you guys are both equally.
All right, we're both to blame.
When you say it from the, I mean, you guys are both at the starting line.
Okay, all right. That sounds good. All right, thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Ms. Well, Mr. Colby.
Give me a moment and just to set up. Can everyone hear me? How about in courtroom 2? Can you all hear me in courtroom 2? I'm getting some reactions, so I'm going to assume yes. All right.
They're looking around at each other.
Now, some of you who have expressed that this case might be a waste of time. However, in our system, anyone accused of crime has a right to jury trial. The fact this case, rather than some other case, went to trial is not something to consider. Juror number 13, if you were instructed to that the fact that this case went to trial, rather than and any number of other cases is not something to consider. Would you put your reservations aside and only decide on the evidence?
Yes.
Although on that topic, juror number 13 and several other of you who expressed concerns that this might that a case over just 2 chickens might be a waste of time. Can I have a show of hands and who believes that? Still believes that? Now, juror number 2, do you think now the instruction in and that you'll be given, is that, no, is that there, or that as long as there is some value in the property taken, in however slight, that can constitute a petty theft. Would you be asking this court to, my office to provide some higher value than that?
Go ahead.
Okay. You don't you raise your hand indicating that you don't think we should go to trial over 2 chickens, right?
Right.
How many chickens do you think would have to be taken before we should take this to trial?
Honestly, she might as well have just taken the whole entire truck if that was the case.
All right. Okay. Juror number 11, how many chickens do you think should have been taken and before this be taken to trial?
Well, we kind of know why they took them, but I want to know why. I mean, I want to know the whole picture, because there's definitely other things involved besides taking 2 chickens.
Okay. Thank you. Staying in that, although it's just, I believe you raised your hand when I asked if you didn't think this was.
Well, I don't. I mean, for 2 chickens, but there's other things involved in this case besides the stealing.
But you would require my office, the people to if they show that there is some more value than just 2 chickens.
There probably is more value than 2 chickens.
Thank you. How about juror number 10? You also raise your hand. And how many chickens do you think should have been taken before you think before this case is not a waste of the courts and your time?
I think it's the same thing she said, the whole truck. I mean, they took chickens.
Mm-hmm.
2, yeah, but if it was gonna be something like a whole truck, then yeah, this makes sense.
Okay.
Again, I think it's more than just 2 chickens, like she said, there's more back
Okay.
there that we haven't got told yet.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me give you a hypothetical. Imagine if you had ordered some food from Grubhub. It would it's a pretty cheapest thing on the menu, and for some reason, all their piles and piles of extra fees didn't apply to that order. It's delivered to your house, and then someone comes to your porch, swoops up your meal, and walks away with it. Do you think that a person should be charged with theft?
No, I would just object. This is coming close to a stakeout question. Sending out the facts of the case and asking how they're going to rule in the facts of the case, and I don't think that's appropriate in the context of voir dire.
Sustained. Move on, Mr. Owen.
Thank you.
Okay. If you were given an instruction, though, that even though you think 2 chickens is not worth having a jury trial for, but you are instructed that, and as long as you found some that you believe, if I proven beyond a reasonable doubt that those 2 chickens had some value, however slight. If I prove that, even though you believe this might be a waste of time, would you hold it against my office?
I would say no, because to me that would be, not a lot of money, but for someone that owns $1 million company, 2 chickens, change for them. It's not a whole lot. And yeah.
So do you believe the law should be applied differently when the theft is committed against a corporation rather than an individual?
I think if they take a significant amount of money, then it should be, but 2 chickens, what, $10, $20? Yeah.
How about you juror number 11, if you were given that instruction, and would you be able to follow it despite your reservations? How about juror number 2?
I mean, I'm gonna add on to the 10, what he said, like, between corporation and an individual. If it was an individual and you stole 2 of my chickens, I'd be pretty pissed. My bad. I'd be pretty mad about it, because those are my personal chickens. However, it's a corporation. They have thousands upon thousands of chickens. 2 isn't gonna be nothing towards them.
And so,
But towards you guys, I mean, like you said, your money is your money. You gotta make it however you have to make it. But if anything, it's just an exposure between the 2.
so you would hold a higher standard if the involved party is a corporation rather than an individual.
No.
How about you, juror number 13?
I think I need to.
Sorry, are you juror 14 or 13?
I'm 13.
Okay, sorry. Juror number 13.
I think I need to hear the question again.
Okay, if you're instructed that as long as you find that if the chickens in question had some value and that my office, no, sorry, the element you'll be instruction on is that they'll have some value, however slight. But since since it's Foster Farms rather than an individual, would you hold it to a higher standard than that?
Well, I don't think an individual would be in court right now over 2 chickens. I think Foster Farms, they have to, I've seen how they transport chickens. They have to factor in some amount of net loss per truckload, and so I feel like the loss of 2 chickens is pretty nominal and probably a part of what they already expect to lose by the time the chickens get to their destination.
Thank you. Understood? Oh, now, juror number 10.
Oh, 9.
Oh, sorry. Juror 10. Did you said you're a environmental biologist. What's your field of study?
Ecology.
And do you have your studies or experience do anything related to the farming industry?
Not currently, but I do have a job offer to work for a farm company in the next couple weeks, but no.
Okay. Thank you. And juror number 19, and I believe you said you're still studying in the graduate program?
He studied political science.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, I meant to ask this to you earlier, juror number 6. You also seem to have reservations regarding if it's committed against the crimes committed against a company like Foster Farms. If you were instructed that and it's only the value, however slight, and you found that beyond a reasonable doubt, would you not be able to follow that instruction since it's a large corporation?
I feel that I would struggle to understand.
Okay. Now, the defense mentioned that you will be seeing a video of the action, and that this is going to be coming down to specific intents. What are some ways that you could determine what someone's intent was, particularly if you had a video? Juror number 8.
I guess we have to find out what the circumstances were surrounding how the video was taken.
What are you
If
getting?
it was intentional, what was their purpose of doing that? Maybe what consequences were gonna be. Obviously, they're trying to make a point. So, we need to hear what their point was.
If you saw all the video though, and you saw the actions, what would that tell you about their intent?
They intended to do what they did, that they're trying to make a point, which is effectively while we're here. And it just devolved into a political statement.
Juror number 20, same question, and how can you determine someone's intent?
In this situation, I'd say, I mean, that's what you guys are here to tell us. I wouldn't make any assumptions by watching a video.
Let me give you a different hypothetical. Well, if someone and coming up to you in the street, holding out a weapon and holding their hands out, what would you say if their intent was?
They would want to steal something from me or hurt me.
So can intent be determined by how someone acts?
Yeah, tone of voice, body language, speed of motion, I mean, yeah.
Is there anyone who disagrees with that? Now, has anyone here, we've acted, was anyone here supporting Prop 12 when it was enacted? It regarding in the size and cages is of chickens in housing in farming facilities.
Your Honor, I think that actually misstates Prop 12. But, so I don't think that's an accurate characterization of Prop 12. But Prop 12 is specific to certain types of animals, including egg-laying hens, not chickens in a case like this, for example.
So, why don't you move on?
All right. Are any of you who currently or been a part of any animals rights organization like Direct Action Everywhere, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or the Animal Welfare Institute? Does anyone here feel particularly strongly about animal rights? Now, we've listened to the opinion about foster farms from some of you. Does anyone else here have a strong opinion about the company? Juror number 18, and do you have any strong opinion?
No, I do not.
Okay. Now, if you are seated in this trial, despite the immense nature, this trial may take some time. does anyone have an upcoming obligation that doesn't amount to a hardship, but that's gonna come up and be distracting if you have to sit the jury? Number 14?
Yeah, so for my job, I have subpoenas and I have to testify for other cases. And I have a case next week on the 16th.
And if you are impaneled here, would the fact that you are subpoenaed in another case be distracting to you?
In a sense, yes.
Would that impact your ability to be a fair and impartial juror?
I wouldn't say it would impact me, but I wouldn't know if scheduling would work around it if I have to testify.
If I may have a moment. Now, you've been instructed that this case is that any criminal case must be decided beyond a reasonable doubt. I have to provide evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendants are guilty. If I fail to meet that burden, and the only in conclusion you can come to is not guilty. Now, does anyone here have any reservations that if I do not meet my burden, and that that I do not prove all the elements of the charge of petty theft, would any of you still have a problem holding me accountable and finding the defendant not guilty? Juror number 1?
No.
Number 2? Number 3? Number 4? Number 5? Number 6? Number 7?
No.
Number 8? Number 9? Number 10? Number 11? Number 12? Number 13? Number 14? Number 15? Number 16? 17? Okay. Conversely, though, if I do meet my burden, and I have proven this case, the elements beyond a reasonable doubts, for all the elements, and would any of you who have problems find the defendants guilty of the charges? Right. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Ewell.
May I have just a couple follow-ups, just briefly, in light of, because I think the prosecution and co-counsel asked some questions, and
No.
you're not permitted follow-up?
No, you're not permitted. I do have a follow-up. There's some of you have concerns about this being a waste of time, and you're entitled to your feelings, and that's perfectly legitimate. What I want to ask about that, the follow-up question from that is, what does that mean? Okay? In other words, if I could get you to answer those of you indicate that you think this is a waste of time, what that means is, what would that mean? I'm not going to listen to the evidence if I'm Pickett's jury, and I've already made up my mind at this point whether the defense are guilty or not, or whether the people, I'm going to hold it against the people or the defense. Juror number 2, would you, is that what you mean by this is a waste of time, or would you be able to keep an open mind and say, I realize I could, time could be spent better somewhere else and doing some other things, but if I'm picking the jury, I will listen to all the evidence, and after that I'll make up my mind. Yeah, you're not gonna tune out because you think it's a waste of time. Okay. How about juror number 6?
I would listen to all the evidence, but I feel like there are bigger fish to fry.
Okay,
And
Yes.
I feel like, again, corporations.
sure,
bigger
so,
fish to fry.
and so do you feel that then, this is gonna be a strike against the district attorney because they brought this case?
I would struggle to see their perspective.
Okay, thank you, appreciate honesty. I think somebody else, juror number 10, I think you indicated too. What do you think? Would you, despite what you feel about the use of time, would you be able to keep an open mind and listen to all the evidence and make a decision after all the evidence comes in?
Yeah.
You can do that, okay, all right. Let's see, I think juror number 13 also indicated that. Ma'am, what about you?
Yeah, I think I would do my very best
Okay,
to, I mean, let me rephrase it. I would keep an open mind. I don't have a stronger feeling about the prosecution over the defense or vice versa.
Yeah.
I think equally there's blame.
sure.
Doesn't mean I can't listen to the facts that both present and make a decision based on those facts. I just still have strong feelings about that. I don't know that it wouldn't or would. I'm normally a very fair person and objective. I just felt very strongly that I needed
Sure.
to voice my opinion.
I understood, and I really appreciate that, all right? And yeah, again, the issue is, I think you made it clear, is despite how you feel, you will still listen to all the evidence and make a judgment after you hear all the evidence and the arguments of counsel, okay, in the court, all right? Let's see, who else? I think, did anybody else who indicate that they thought maybe this might be a waste of time? Okay. Anybody feel, if you haven't already voiced it before, anybody feel, I can't keep an open mind because this is a waste of time? Or I'm gonna hold it against the district attorney, the people, or the defendants because, why am I here? Why did they bring me here? Okay, all right, thank you, ladies. All right, counsel, what's your approach? Juror number 6, anything that we talked about that you think would cause you to have difficulty being fair and impartial?
I think I could be fair and impartial.
Okay. You don't know anybody in this case?
Okay.
Don't know anybody who's involved? Nobody who's a close family member or friend who's in law enforcement?
No.
Okay. No strong feelings about the issues in this case or about foster farms one way or the other?
No, I just want to follow the facts.
Follow the facts. Very good. All right. Juror number, let's see, 13. Same questions for you. Anything about what we talked about so far?
So my occupation, I'm a senior category manager of meat and seafood for the Save-Mart companies.
Okay.
So the bulk of my business is purchasing and selling large quantities of beef, pork, and chicken. So I directly deal with foster farms daily.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, so one of your clients is foster farm.
Yeah, they're my number one vendor that I deal with. I deal with Tyson, Pilgrims, JBS, different big corporations. My number one vendor that I deal with daily is foster farm.
Gotcha. Thank you for disclosing that. And because of that close relationship, I'm going to go ahead and excuse you. Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate you coming in today and being patient. All right, ma'am. And have you heard all the questions we've been talking about this morning and this afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, anything that jumps out at you that you think might cause you to have difficulty being fair and impartial?
I don't think that I will have difficulty being, not fair or impartial.
Okay, you can keep it fair, open mind, listen to all the evidence.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, any strong feelings one way or the other about foster farms or the nature of this case?
No, not really.
Okay, juror number 14, what about you? Anything, sir? Okay, you're shaking your head, that means no?
No.
You can be fair and impartial?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Let's see, juror 21. Ma'am, anything else we talked about this morning and this afternoon?
No?
You can be very impartial?
Yes.
Okay. All right, very good. Okay. I'm going to turn it to the attorneys to ask follow-up questions, only of the new potential jurors.
I don't believe occupation in the
Oh,
whiteboard.
I'm sorry, yes, thank you. All right, juror number 2, would you give us your information on the whiteboard?
Yes, I'm a registered nurse, I'm a stroke and sepsis coordinator. I separated but still living there, so I'm a teacher for high school. My children are 17 and 10, I live in Merced, and I've never served on a jury.
Okay, thank you. Juror number 6?
I'm unemployed, I'm not married, I don't have any children, I live in Las Bañas, and I have not served in a jury before.
Okay, thank you, sir. Juror 13?
My occupation, the title or just like a description? Because most people don't understand what the title is.
Just a description if you can.
I am a certified drug and alcohol counselor, but I work with individuals that suffer from severe mental illness as well as addiction.
Okay.
I do not have a spouse. My minor children are ages 9 and 12. I reside in Merced, and I've never served on a jury before.
Okay, juror 14?
I'm retired. My wife is a custodian of the Los Banos School District. No minor children. Los Banos. I have served on a jury one time before, a civil case.
Okay, should we reach verdict in that case?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I have a question.
Yes.
Just because I know that it was brought up earlier, I am also a student. I know that you were asking about what people were studying.
Uh-huh.
I'm a graduate student in a master's in social work program. I don't
Okay.
know that that matters.
Okay, and where are you studying now?
I am studying, it's an online program with Catholic University of America. It's out of Washington, D.C.
Okay, thank you. With this trial, if you're picking jury, would they interfere with your studies in any way?
No, it's
Okay.
asynchronous, so it's all online.
Okay, thank you. Juror 21?
I am the timekeeper at Valley State Prison, and I don't have a spouse or any children. I live in Merced, and I've never served on a jury before.
Okay, thank you. All right, counsel, any follow-up questions?
Hey everyone, I'm Wayne Xiong, and you probably heard I'm counsel for defendant Alexandra Paul. I'm gonna bear with me for a second, I want to get this thing on. Hopefully I don't create any feedback. And I'm sure you heard me earlier, but just to refresh, the point of this inquiry is to determine bias, which is just kind of whether you have some sort of leaning or prejudging in this case. And the judge already asked a lot of the questions I was going to ask, but I do want to dive a little bit deeper into your views on commercial animal agriculture, if you have any. So I'll just start by asking, does anyone have any views on animal agriculture that are strongly held they might want to share?
And these are directed to
just towards any jurors, yes. So that would be. And does anyone have any experiences with animals they'd like to share? So, juror 6, do you have any views or thoughts on animals or?
I have dogs, but that's it.
Tell me more. Just dogs or companions, just pets, that sort of thing?
Yeah, yes, pets. Treat them like family.
Oh, that's good. Glad to hear that. And does anyone have any experiences with raising animals or selling animals for food? So similar to, we had one juror who candidly said, you know, not only do I sell animals from places that are slaughtering them, but I actually have a vendor that is a complaining witness in this case. Is anyone in a situation even similar to that, where maybe it's not Foster Farms, but you're buying or selling from McDonald's or Tyson or something like that? Nothing like that? Okay, so I'm going to move to views on animal advocacy. You probably heard me earlier say that what's going to be at stake in this case is really assessing the intent, the why of people who are involved in animal advocacy or animal rescue, and it's important that everyone fairly assesses that. And we all come in with various experiences, baggage, and I told you there was a point in my life where I was really upset at PETA, an organization that advocates for animals. I just want to kind of check in with all of you if any of you had an experience with an animal advocacy organization or an individual even who was very passionate about this that was maybe not the best experience. Anything like that? So, yours 14, nothing like that? Okay. Nothing like that? Okay. We had a lot of conversation earlier today about how this is a quote waste of time, and I get it. This has been an arduous process for all of us, and certainly my client feels the same way. At the same time, this is a very serious criminal matter with criminal stakes and a conviction at stake. So it's important for us that each of the jurors really do their due diligence and take their obligations seriously. And in particular, I can totally get it if because you feel like it's a waste of time, it's just 2 chickens. What's this about? Come on. You don't engage in the sort of thoughtful process that's required of a juror. And in particular, one form of bias is a bias towards just going along with the group. And all of us have probably have been in this experience. Honestly, in my family, I'm known as a pushover. You know, if someone wants to go to this restaurant or that restaurant, I'm always the person that says, okay, I'll go along. But as a juror, one form of bias is a bias towards just rushing to judgment and not making an independent conclusion on the facts. Does that make sense to everyone? Because you have a duty as a juror under our Constitution to make that independent assessment, say like, well, what did I see? When I heard these people testify, when I heard the police testify, what do I believe about what actually happened on that day and why it happened? So I guess my question is, first, a lot of people testified or stated earlier, they felt like, what's this all about? This seems like kind of a ridiculous case. Does anyone else feel similarly of the, I think it's 5 people who just joined the panel? Did any of you feel similarly? Do you feel like this is kind of a waste of time?
Well, they're running a business, so I understand that.
Of course.
They have, their views and their thoughts and ideas about how things should be done, and
Absolutely.
I understand that too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 2 sides to the story.
There are 2 sides, exactly. And that's what we're looking for. And you don't think you'd rush to judgment just on the basis of the fact that, it's just 2 chickens.
No.
Okay, good. Yeah. Because even though it's just 2 chickens, obviously my client has been criminally charged.
Well,
So for her,
2 chickens are important to her, just as 2 chickens are important to them.
for sure, yeah. So for her, even though it might be 2 chickens to the average person, she's been criminally charged. So this is a very serious matter for her because the stakes.
Council approach.
Even if it doesn't seem like a big deal to some of the other jurors, what's at stake? Just 2 chickens. You'd still be able to take the time to deliberate independently and make that judgment. And is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess also, even if all 11 of the other jurors had a different factual conclusion, you'd still stand by your position, if that was your position, rather than just kind of going along with it. Great, thank you. That's what we're looking for. So I'll ask the same question, I think, I'm trying to remember which ones are the new jurors. I think 6, you're the next new juror. Same question for you. You heard a lot of jurors, potential jurors saying, what's this about? I don't have time for this. And again, I get it. A lot of people are really busy. Do you have a sense that this is kind of a waste of time? Or?
No, I think it's too early and that there's more information I need to hear before I can even start to form an opinion.
Great, thank you. And you think you could make an independent assessment that's fair and balanced?
I do, yes.
Okay. Even if the other members of the group were to say, come on, let's just move along.
Of course, yes, I would push for my view because I know this is important.
It is important. Thank you. Yeah, and in a deliberation, sometimes it can take days, weeks. And again, if it is your independent view that is genuinely held, you have a legal obligation to hold on to it and say, even if I'm one person who believes the facts haven't been proved against this defendant, I have a duty to make that view known.
And I believe moral too.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I'll go to juror 14. Or, I'm sorry, juror 13 first. Do you have any thoughts on just the line of inquiry we've been going through together?
Honestly, when I first heard what we were here for, I also thought this is kind of silly. Are we really here for this? But regardless of what my thoughts and my beliefs are, I'm in school to be like a social worker and learn how to be objective. And as a counselor, I have to practice objectivity on a regular, so I'm able to set my beliefs or personal opinions aside. And this is the reality of our legal system. People are brought, or our charges are brought for petty theft of things that we might think are ridiculous and absurd. That this is just kind of the reality. It's not up to me what is the people bring charges against or not. My duty here is not to decide whether charges are brought. It's whether the evidence is meeting what the law stipulates, and they have their right to a fair and impartial jury, and I strongly believe in our right to practice that and also value our duty here.
It's beautifully put. Spoken like a judge. Maybe that's I'm serious.
Hey, I wanted to
Spoken
be
like
a lawyer
judge.
when I was a kid.
I could tell. I could tell. That was very beautifully put. 14, do you have any thoughts on this line of inquiry?
Not after what she said. She said it perfectly.
So even if the rest of the people are saying, come on, the video shows it was done, why are we wasting our time? You'll look carefully through the instructions given by the judge, look at all the defenses and excuses that may be provided by the defense, and give my client a fair shot.
Yep.
In this case.
All about the rule of law.
And I think the last new one is you, correct? Am I wrong? Did I miss anyone? Okay. So juror number 21, do you have any thoughts on this question? A fair deliberation, giving the case the time and attention it deserves?
No, I think this case is just as important as any other case, or else we would be here. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's really fair to argue what's important or what's not.
Yeah, great. Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. Okay. I'm trying to think. Co-counsel will go into the question of video evidence, and I'll give him a chance. But I'll just briefly poll all of you. Do any of you feel similarly to some of the other members of the jury, or I should say potential jury, that if I see video, it's done? You know, I don't need to see anything else, and it doesn't matter what's going on in these defendants' minds? Okay. So I read earlier kind of the elements of petty theft, and I'll read the complete instruction of the prosecution's request. That 3 of the elements that I think are key to us are the defendant took possession of property owned by someone else. And second, the defendant took the property. When the defendant took the property, she intended to deprive the owner of it permanently, or to remove it from the owner for so extended a period of time that the owner would be deprived of a major portion of the value or enjoyment of the property. And then the last element that I read to the prior panel is that the property taken must have some intrinsic value, however slight. Some intrinsic value, however slight. We're living in a time in our country where there's a lot of property crime. People are very concerned about break-ins, thefts, even robberies. So I guess the question I have for the new panels on this, members of the panel on this jury is, in light of the fact this instruction says, even if someone took something, there are elements they have to prove beyond just taking something, right? They have to prove the property had some intrinsic value, however slight. And if there's even reasonable doubt, right? If there's reasonable doubt on this element of the offense, you as a juror member have a duty to acquit, right? So I guess I'll ask juror number 2. Do you feel capable of and fair enough to look at the evidence openly and say, okay, maybe they took something, but if it doesn't meet the standard in the instruction, that the property must have some intrinsic value, however slight, I won't hold it against them in this case?
Correct.
Correct? Okay, great. In 6, same? 13?
Yeah, I think I'm capable of coming to that.
Great, thank you. And 14?
Same.
Yes.
Okay. Great. I guess the last set of questions before I pass off to my co-counsel is about law enforcement. And you're going to hear some repeat questions, but I think these are important questions because law enforcement has become such a contentious issue, unfortunately, in my view, because we all know it's important. We also know they're bad actors. But it's become very polarized to the point that a lot of people come into these discussions about law enforcement with a very strong part of view. You've probably seen some of it on social media a little bit and seen some of the arguments. And while, of course, in this country, this is a free country. That's one of the things that makes it great. We're all entitled to state our strong views on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. In a case like this, where you're going to be asked to fairly assess the testimony of an officer against someone else, even if you're someone who's on the side of law enforcement very strongly, and I get that. Law enforcement serves a vital role in our society and thinks they're being unfairly attacked, you still have to assess their evidence and testimony equally to someone who's just a layperson. Right? I said that before. And I'm sorry for repeating myself, but this is very, very important. Because again, a lot of us, our typical response, certainly this is my response. My uncles are both cops. When a cop tells you something, you do it. You believe it. You know, you don't think about it too much, you just do it. But what we're asking you to do in a criminal case, because the cop is not here as an officer who's instructing you the law, but he's here just as a fact witness, no different than any other fact witness, you have to come into the case saying, yeah, the officer said that. Maybe I normally trust cops more than other people. But in this criminal case, I've been instructed to see his testimony is no different than anyone else's. And so that's kind of what we're asking you to do. So probably just going to poll real quick. 2, do you have any thoughts on that? Does that seem reasonable to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Everybody has something to say, and it's the validity of each and every person, not.
Exactly. It doesn't matter.
What you do.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what hat you're wearing, what your status or title is, your seniority. It's just the facts and the credibility of what you have to say. Great, thank you. And number 6, do you have any thoughts on that?
It doesn't matter to me about labels. What matters is the individual person, and then as I hear them, I can assess if I believe them and what the facts are.
Right. And 13?
I agree with what he said, but also a human being, flawed and imperfect like the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly. And that's such an important thing to note, that no matter how many titles, what authority, or what position someone has, we're all flawed. We have memories that can fail. We can see something and think we saw something, and it's not correct. And it's important for us to realize that when we're in a criminal case where someone is being charged. Okay. And
I agree with that.
Zach, great.
Yeah, I see a lot of cops in my work. I just meet a lot of them.
Sure.
So that's told me that they're just people. They're
Yeah.
individuals.
Okay. Yeah, tell me more about that. I mean, tell me about your experience at police as, you said you were a timekeeper.
Yeah.
Is it a state jail, a county jail, or
It's
state prison?
It's a state prison as well.
State
as
prison.
prison, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, tell me about the experience.
I work in admin, so I don't work on the yard. I don't go inside the prison. I don't
Sure.
do that. Mostly just paperwork. It's
Okay.
mostly my job. But I do meet a lot of cops. They come into our office. They have questions. But they're just people. Like
Yeah.
me.
Fair enough. Okay. And are you friendly with a number of police officers?
Yeah, a few. I don't work closely with any of them.
I see.
So if they come in, we usually just have like 1 or 2 things, or they're
Okay.
just dropping questions.
Okay. And it sounds like most of the interactions are pretty positive.
Yeah, most of them.
The pause said it all, right there. Based on those interactions, you know, I gave the example earlier of kind of being a Steph Curry fan. And I'm around a lot of Warriors fans. Like when it's LeBron versus Steph, you know how my team's going to roll. Like we're always going to be Warriors all the way. And I guess my question for you is, based on your experiences in a state prison, it would be natural and totally understandable for you to have camaraderie, right, with your friends, the people you're friendly with your coworkers. Do you think that would lead to any sort of prejudgment in a case where you had to assess an officer's testimony against a non-officer's testimony?
I don't think so, because in my line of work, a lot of it is officers saying one thing, and then I have to prove them right or wrong with a lot of paperwork.
Okay, so you're kind of the bad guy. It's checking out.
Some of them.
Okay. Okay, so you feel like you could be open despite the fact that you have these relationships. Okay. Okay, last set of questions I want to ask, and then I promise I'll pass it along to co-counsel, is there have been some conversations about hardship. I know you mentioned, you know, the difficulty earlier of just being here. And I know jury service is hard. It's frankly physically onerous just to sit there without moving for hours and hours every day. It can sometimes be a little boring, to be honest. I hate to say that, but sometimes people are bored. And the judge already instructed you on hardship and asked you if you had any hardship that legally permitted you to leave. So my question for you is, does anyone have a hardship that might lead to a prejudgment in this case, right? Because a couple people testified that, you know, like I've got a job I got to get back to, I've got family members I'm worried about, who I have to care for. And while the judge has already ascertained hardship, my question for you is there anything in your life that would lead you to kind of rush your judgment in this case? Because you just want to get it done, right? So I already have your answer. So nothing like that going on with you, number 2?
No.
Okay, great, fantastic. Anything you want to share about that? No?
No, I've just been, you know, juggling everything around as I can this entire week, but, you know, going home and working when I get home and doing things like that.
Yeah, it's hard.
Trying to make it work.
It's absolutely hard. Well, thank you for doing that. And if you're selected, you know, I'm confident we'll do a very good job because it's important. Number 6, anything in your life going on that would lead you to kind of rush your judgment
No, I'm honored to be here and I'm going to take it very seriously.
Well, thank you for saying that. And you're right, it is an honor, because in a lot of countries, including my family's home country, we don't have these rights. Right?
Exactly.
Beautiful. You're right. 13, anything in your life going on that might cause?
Honestly, I think most people hope that they have a reason to get out of jury duty. But because
Now you're not sounding like a judge.
because I do value honesty, I'm honestly, like I work for Merced County, we get paid for jury duty.
Great, good.
So I have no reason to be dishonest of some hardship that's.
Great.
I mean, I have a busy life, sure, but from this time, I'm usually at work anyway, so,
Sure.
I mean, they probably think that they don't want me here. I work with, my clients would prefer me be there than
Sure,
here,
of course.
but, that's not a valid, I don't know if that's the right word, that's not a hardship that should prevent me from being of service.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being
Performing
honest about
civic
that.
duty.
And while it will be difficult, and it's going to be probably at least a week-long trial, I hope you find it to be a meaningful experience too, because it's an important one in democracy. Sir, number 14, any hardships that might cause you to? Okay, thank you. And then last, you're okay? Your job's going to cover you, and
Oh,
you'll be
yeah.
fine, not going to?
Yeah, there's plenty of people that can do my job.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I don't think I have any other questions, but I
Thank you,
appreciate your
Counsel.
answers.
Slow.
Thank you, Honor.